Welcome to Judicial Dollars and Cents, brought to you by Anders Virtual CFO Services team from all across the United States. I'm John Scott, and in each episode, we'll shine a light on the financial side of the legal world. We sit down with law firm innovators who are shaping the future of the profession. Let's dive in, right here on Judicial Dollars and Cents. Welcome, and today we are diving into the world of legal content. I'm joined by my partner, Jody Grundon of Anders Virtual CFO Services, and David Arato from Lexicon. Our guest is the founder and CEO of Lexicon Legal Content, a legal provider of high-quality SEO optimized content for law firms across the United States. David has over a decade in digital marketing and legal writing, and his team helps attorneys grow their practices through clear, credible, and conversational content that connects with clients. And a fun fact that we'll get into later is before David started this and before he went to law school and grew up in St. Louis, he was a cellist. And so we're going to ask him a little bit more about that later on. So David, let's start at the beginning. So
John, I don't know cellist, so I'm interested in this one for sure.
You want to start there?
No, we're going to end there. And I want you to channel Jack Black and School of Rock before we get to our question at the end. So how did you get from growing up in St. Louis, going to law school, not a licensed attorney, but helping lawyers with marketing?
Absolutely. Great question. So growing up in St. Louis, left for college, studied music at the University of Iowa, came back thinking I was going to do 2 years of freelance work and look for music jobs and get my master's maybe. In that 2-year period, I realized I didn't want to pursue music professionally anymore. And law school was always in the back of my mind. So went to SLU. While I was studying for the bar, I actually started writing content for an agency based in St. Louis, which no longer exists, doing SEO-focused content. And during that experience, I realized there's a huge market for this because it was, especially, this is 2009. This is the beginning of content marketing, I would say, as we know it today. Realized that there were agencies all over the country, law firms all over the country that needed compliant, accurate, optimized content, and there wasn't a sole source of, there wasn't a provider at the time. There were content mills, but no one specializing in legal at that time. It was a bunch of freelancers, and I realized there was an opportunity for market consolidation there, and to become a provider of white label services to agencies and to work directly with law firms all over the country. Because the thing is, when you're doing marketing, you don't need to be licensed in the state in which you're doing marketing, right? So it was a way to leverage the JD, the legal knowledge, the understanding of compliance in a way that I could create a truly scalable business that has clients in Los Angeles and New York and Fort Lauderdale and Seattle.
Are there any parallels between your musical background and what you do with law firms?
That is a really good question. I wouldn't say there are parallels with what I do specifically, but it was the entrepreneurial spirit that I developed playing cello. Because as you mentioned, as we talked about rather, I'm in St. Louis. I'm 24, 25 years old, broke, and I had to hustle. Your
parents are trying to figure out what you're going to do to get off their payroll.
And that's right. And I'm hustling for cello students. I'm putting up flyers at the local music stores. Right. I am making connections with teachers at the high schools to get students. I'm making connections with contractors that are booking gigs that are coming through the Fox, or even just weddings on the weekend. Right. So I'm like hustling for work there. So upon leaving law school, I had that experience of having the professional ability to go out, find clients for whatever service I'm providing. I mean, it's the same thing, right? Whether I'm providing music lessons or playing the cello or freelance writing services at the time in 2009 and 2010, I knew how to do this and present myself in such a way and network in such a way as to get business.
Yeah, that gig economy that you were used to really leads to the entrepreneurial spirit of developing a business, because
absolutely
you're always hustling for your next meal, really.
And the transition from freelancing to running an agency, there wasn't a clear delineation between the two. It was like I was getting more work than I possibly could, right? Realizing that I had to professionalize and form an LLC, then realizing scalability truly had to do with finding margins, outsourcing work, me working on getting clients, finding people to actually do the content writing. So there was an evolution rather than one day I said, okay, this is now an agency, not a freelance job, right? There was a time where I was still doing a lot of writing and then using contractors for some of it. Over the years, it got to the point where I was working on high level strategic business initiatives, forming partnerships, networking, and all of the writing is being done by contract writers or some of our full-time writers.
Yeah, I think your target client base and ours is the same because we need and want law firms that want to grow and scale.
Absolutely.
You know, if you just want to be a static law firm, great. That's a lifestyle firm, but
Mm-hmm.
we really want people that want to be entrepreneurs and grow and really develop a business that they can work on but not in.
And that was a transition that I've experienced over the past 15 years of business. And I would say it was really in the past 5
Mm-hmm.
that we've grown in such a way that I work mostly on my business and not in it. And that has allowed for scale in a way that I didn't see was possible, as a 30-year-old fresh out of law school.
How did you convince back then? How did you convince, law firms getting into the SEO, PPC type marketing?
How did I convince them? Well, I want to clarify.
It's something new for them. Back then they had the telephone book. And
It is. And I want to clarify one thing. So we work mostly with agencies that have law firm clients that don't have the expertise or the internal processes to ensure that they're creating accurate and compliant content.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of the time we're business to business to business. That said, we've been really lucky in that a lot of our law firm clients have been inbound. I do a fair amount of publishing. I do a fair amount of podcasts. Our SEO is pretty good for some high value terms. So we're getting law firms that already have a need, already know that they have a need for content marketing. So they're coming to us with an idea that they need this. I'm not doing the convincing. They've convinced themselves they need a provider. Yeah. We have a lot of inbound is a shorter way to say that.
So what do you find that firms struggle with most? Is it consistency, the message, or understanding what clients care about? What do they need the most help in?
Sure. I think if a firm's trying to do content themselves, it's like, who do you give this content to, right? Like, do you have a summer intern? Well, they're going to be gone after 2 months. Do you have an associate that you just hired that you want to write the content? What I'm getting at is like, it needs to be written and at least vetted by someone with legal training to make sure that it's compliant and make sure that it's accurate. I don't think a generalist copywriter, even with AI, can achieve these goals, right? So I think that, to be short, to answer your question directly, I think it's consistency. And I think it's consistency because there's a delegation issue. If you're a solo attorney, you should be out getting clients or practicing law. If you've got some staff, your associates should be out there billing, right? Like doing billable work.
Mm-hmm.
So who on your staff has legal training and the ability, and also understands like the nexus of copywriting, legal accuracy, and SEO, right? Like there's a bottleneck there, which is why our company exists.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought up AI, and I'll get back to that in a moment. But I worked with a law firm that was growing very fast, and about the time you started your business, would go and find English majors who graduated and didn't have jobs. And basically for 15 to 20 bucks an hour, which wasn't a great rate, but it was better than not working at all. They would write content that then his attorneys would go in and review and revise. It was kind of the precursor to AI, where you had someone else doing the writing. So there are a lot of attorneys that think AI is the death of the profession, but I think if used in the right way, it can create great efficiencies. And I think the right way is the organization of thought. You still have to take the output and make it your own. But if you just have this openness of thought into a prompt, and you can get back something organized, and then you can tailor it, then I think that's a really good use of AI. So what are you seeing in what you do and what law firms, how are they using AI to create those efficiencies?
I agree with everything you're saying. And I'll just tell an anecdote to kind of jump into this conversation, this part of the conversation rather. In 2022, December, around Christmas, I played with ChatGPT for the first time. And I looked at my wife, who's also my business partner, and I was like, well, Erin, I've got to take the Colorado bar because our business is screwed. Like we're done for, it's over. Luckily that didn't happen. Here we are like almost 3 years later, still cooking. It has changed the job completely. completely changed the job that we do. No longer are we writing content from scratch. No longer are we rewriting a call to action 50 different ways with a human, right? It has made the job different. It's allowed us to create better content more quickly and more efficiently for our clients. That being said, to your point, as you said, you've got to inject your own voice into the output, and you've got to know how to prompt it. Like, someone's still got to run the machine, right?
Right.
Right. That's the thing. And has there been downward pressure, price pressure on content creation? Absolutely. Have we doubled our volume? Also, absolutely. Right. Because more people are putting out more content. I think so obviously we're not practicing law, but I think some of the same issues happen here in our content creation space that are applicable to the practice of law. And I recently read some research from, I think it was the University of Auckland. This academic did some research, and I can't remember his name. I wish I could. Showing that the efficiencies gained in the practice of law by the use of AI are then they're negated rather by the time you spend checking for compliance and accuracy, right? So we've experienced that on our own end. So if we create content, a first draft of a piece of content using AI and some proprietary prompts and some proprietary software that we've created, so we get the first draft in 2 minutes, right? But then on the back end, to optimize it, like the bar for good content has been set so much higher. And also to get stuff to rank that against other AI. Let me back up. If all of us are going, so we play the sandbox we're playing in is, does my content rank higher than the next guy's, right? If everyone's going to ChatGPT or Claude or Grok, pick your poison, and saying, give me 1,000 words on car accidents in St. Louis, we're all going to get generic output. Right. So then we have to, as content creators who are trying to get this content to rank, inject the law firm's voice into it, discuss, show signals of expertise, experience, authority, and trust. Talk about things that are as I heard at a conference recently, you got to do what the bots can't do. Right. So add things about the geography of the market that you're in. If we're going to talk about car accidents, let's talk about the most dangerous intersection in St. Louis. Right? At this point, the bots aren't doing that. And then you signal to Google, this is real content, it's human, it's showing expertise, and it's going to be responsive to a query by someone searching for a law firm. Therefore, it ranks higher.
So once a firm understands how to rank better, and those are ever changing, the goal line keeps moving on that. The next question is, when you first start with a firm, how do you go in and audit them? Do you come back with a set of best practices?
We will typically start with an intake call and an intake survey. So we ask them, what are your practice areas? What are the cases you're looking for? Who are your competitors? So we can audit the competitors. What about your firm makes you unique? What's your unique selling value proposition? Right. So we kind of get a holistic idea of who this firm is, how they want to present themselves online, and what kind of cases they're going after. After that, we will go through their website, see what content is performing well, what content is not performing well. Often we're starting from scratch, to be honest with you, because trying to get bad content to rank is harder than just starting with good content to begin with.
What's your cadence on the content, and does it change over time?
Could you ask a question in a different way?
In other words, if they're not doing much, if anything, or what they're doing is not working, and you come out with, okay, we're going to have these posts and these blog articles, is there a specific cadence that you like to follow, like weekly, monthly?
Sure. I think at a minimum, you should do a weekly piece of content. At a minimum. So Google, they're site-wide signals now. So it's no longer are we looking at does this one piece of content rank? I mean, that still is an issue, but it's clear that Google has site-wide signals of ranking. So is the site well maintained? Are they updating their content regularly? Is basically someone minding the store, right? So to some extent, there's value in just posting regularly, even if not. And of course, we want every post to rank well for the target keyword. But even if the post isn't a well-performing post, there is value in posting regularly. So I would say minimum engagement for us is weekly.
So would you say weekly? I mean, so let's say that, for instance, with our firm, we've got a few different niches, law being one of our biggest. We also have creative agencies, marketing agencies as a niche. So would you say weekly for both marketing agencies and weekly for both law, and then weekly for any other niche that we really want to go after? Or are you saying just weekly period, and one of them might be law, one of them might be marketing, and so forth?
Well, it depends how hard you want to go on it, right? I think that just generally showing Google that someone, again, is minding the store is a good thing. But if you're chasing various different verticals in your professional services, I think you should create content regularly for all of those verticals, because your marketing agency is not going to come to your firm based on your law firm content.
Right. Exactly.
So like, how wide do you want to cast your net? And frankly, if you're going over after different verticals like that, I don't think it's a bad idea to have various landing pages too that are specific,
right.
or even different domain names that are specific to the verticals, even if they're under your brand.
Right.
So a law firm would treat each line of business as a different vertical and then try and create content for each of those and post on a weekly basis.
Sure. And things change, right? I remember, like, one thing that's changed significantly is content length. 5 years ago, we were out there in Dallas and Chicago, New York, like very highly competitive markets, doing 5,000 word car accident pages. For context, that's 5 single-spaced Word document pages. So that's a lot of content. And I don't think someone who's been hit by a car, or been in a car accident rather, wants to read 5 pages on car. So we're doing it for Google, right? And that's changed. And to answer your question, I think it's also changed in terms of not creating like hyper specific, like for example, in St. Louis, like we're not going to create a specific personal injury page to each of the 40 suburbs in the area, right?
Right.
That was a technique from 10 years ago. So it depends and it changes. So there's no clear answer there.
I love law firm marketing, and I'm sure you pay attention to it as well. But between the billboards, the podcast, and the radio and TV ads, I mean, the wars that go on, especially between PI firms. Morgan & Morgan has come to town, and all of a sudden, Brown and Crouppen has created a podcast, and it's almost like they have these snipes back and forth. Big is better. Big's not always better. It's just it's a
Is that right?
Oh my God!
I'm excited to come back to my hometown for Thanksgiving and turn on the TV and watch these ads.
You got to check out the Brown and Crouppen podcast. I think it's 3 guys and a sandwich or something. They just sit around eating a sandwich from a different St. Louis restaurant, and just it's a verbal. It's quite the show.
I love this. I'm gonna have to check it out.
One day they were talking about how much toilet paper was being used in the bathrooms. It's just totally off the wall. But they are still trying to compete with, and doing so, I think, successfully with Morgan & Morgan, who's the 800-pound gorilla in the room.
Of course. We've got a client in town, Bruntrigger in Billings.
Oh yeah, I know Neil and Danny.
Okay, so John is a close friend. And when Morgan & Morgan came to town, John called me and he was like, "What are we going to do?" I was like, "Well, John, what we have to do is target long tail keywords, because Morgan & Morgan is going after St. Louis car accident lawyer, right? That's what they're targeting, but they're not targeting what to do after a car accident in Webster Groves, right? Like Morgan & Morgan doesn't, their marketing team isn't doing that stuff, and that's how we're helping, for example, Bruntrigger stay relevant in the search results.
Yeah, they do. I guess you just have to work smarter and not harder.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I mean, they're not going to have the budget. A small family, not a small, but a mid-sized family law firm in St. Louis is not going to have the budget to compete with Morgan & Morgan. Right. They're just not. So like, how can we leverage content marketing and SEO to get niche cases?
Right. So one way that we help folks analyze their finance function, and I'm wondering if you couldn't do this in the marketing area, is we have a proprietary PFMA, profit focused maturity model assessment that helps them self-grade their finance function. And it's in 5 areas, and it grades them between 1 and 5. And so they might be rocking it in two of the 5 areas, but then have a need to work on 3 of the 5 areas. And then we create a plan with them over the next 6 to 12 months to get incrementally better in those areas. And that way we can gives us things to work on, and them things to work on during that time frame. Jody was instrumental in helping bring that about. And Jody's been in this CAS space for 20 years.
Yeah, almost 25 years. Yeah,
I know he looks older than he is, but he's only 38.
I know. I was married 12 years ago.
Seems like 12 minutes with your head underwater, but April is a lovely person.
Yeah, 36 years married and basically in the market for about 25 of those years working with Cass.
So, David, you are based in Colorado, but you work with firms all across the United States.
Absolutely. And Canada.
Oh, and Canada too.
Yep.
What's different in Canada, or is everything the same?
Well, it's common law jurisdiction. So like my legal training and the legal training of our staff is relevant. Honestly, in the content creation area, you just there's spelling variations. Defense is spelled with a C. Color is spelled with an OU. Stuff like this in the content space. Also, you need to like orient yourself with Canadian law, provincial law as well. There's some variations, but again, because it's also common law jurisdiction, it's easily navigable by someone with a JD.
Anything or any thoughts with respect to the UK and Europe?
We haven't done any. You mean in terms of marketing?
Right. For you expanding there.
So I do not know the landscape there. I do know this. My family in Europe, I have some family in Hungary, are very confused as to what I do because law firms don't advertise there. And I'm wondering if it's a pre-lawyer advertised, like the Supreme Court case that allowed lawyers to advertise, I guess it was 78, 79. I wonder if the situation there is similar to it just not being a thing, that lawyers are not advertising in the way that we're doing here. What I'm saying is that like if there's no marketing going on, there's no space for us.
Right.
And I know that it's happening in Canada, but I know that it's not happening in mainland Europe and UK. I don't think it is either.
You know, there are still firms out there that exist under the pre-marketing rules where they think marketing is, well, we sponsored a golf tournament or, you know, we joined a country club. Yeah, that is traditional marketing, but it's not what you do, and it's not what growing firms need to do.
I feel like if you can make your living and have the firm income that you need from referrals and doing it the old-fashioned way, so to speak, more power to you. I just don't see firms today in 2025 being competitive without engaging, especially in personal injury, criminal defense, consumer-facing areas. If you're doing insurance defense and you have long-standing relationships with the big insurance companies, that's fine. You don't need to market the way you do. But if you guys are fighting for that, the high dollar value cases in your market, you've got to be marketing, or you're not going to get the calls.
You know, I got a question for you on that. I mean, because I was told at one point it's important to have quality content versus quantity of content. You know, so, you know, the argument is, hey, I'd like to have at least 4 articles out a week or a month. What's preventing that from being quality for articles a week? Is there something that defines quality in an article itself?
Yes, absolutely. So Google's been really transparent about what they're rewarding, and AI has thrown a wrench in this because now we're optimizing for both AI.
Yeah, for sure.
And I'll get to that, but let's start with Google. They've been very clear. They want content, especially in any area that deals with your money or your life. So anything having to do with medicine, finance, legal, healthcare, I guess that's medicine. Yep. So YMYL is our industry acronym for this. Needs to show good EEAT, another acronym, experience, expertise, authority, and trust. So Google's been clear about this. It explains how to demonstrate EEAT in the content. That is what, according to Google, is separating quality content from generic content. And while we're on this, I'm going to go back to what I was saying earlier. If we're always using the same AI tools to create content, we're going to get generic, smooth output that none of it's going to rank because it's not adding anything new to the conversation.
Which is what you're saying before, right?
Yeah, exactly. I'm going back to this. By definition, the large language models, the LLMs, are pulling from the corpus of data that they've ingested and spitting something out that's similar to what they've read, right? So it, by definition, is going to be generic. So that's not going to be quality content in Google's eyes. AI is another tool in the toolbox. Going back to what you asked about quality versus quantity. When we're optimizing for AI, this is another factor. Content freshness, in what I've seen, anecdotally in my own research on how to. So we were getting ourselves into AI. Like if you Google search AIO for lawyers, AI optimization for lawyers, we come up in the AI overviews. Very meta level, I know, but like we've been working to get ourselves in the AI overviews and the AI results.
Mhm.
What I've seen is content freshness. In other words, how new the content is a huge factor. Like we'll get in there, we'll stay in the pack, in that 3-pack on the top of the page for like a couple weeks.
Mhm.
We'll fall off. We'll publish another piece of content. We're back in it, right? So to answer your question, I think you need both quality and in this landscape, you need quality content and
And quantity. Mhm.
frequent publishing, which I think is a step away from quantity. But if you're publishing frequently, you're going to get quantity, obviously.
Right. And I was talking like on a weekly basis, like you had mentioned earlier.
Totally. I don't think 30 a post a day for the sake of a post a day is the answer, but publish frequently enough that Google's and the AI platforms are seeing like this is fresh content and it's new, and it's citing a statistic from a study that came out last week. And again, like going back to this, like rather than having generic AI content that isn't adding new stuff to the conversation, like one way to signal this is quality research content, if you read an article in Search Engine Journal or whatever your trade magazine is or publication is, rather, like take that study, cite it, link back to it, and you're showing like this is new, this is fresh, and chances are the AI hasn't ingested that information yet, so it's more likely to spit it out when someone asks as new content.
So how do you come up with that new content weekly, though? If it's always looking for that quality, there's not something published every week. Are you then going back and republishing things or giving a different look to something?
I think you'd be surprised as the amount of data that's coming out in
Really?
Absolutely. Like even like, so let's go to a personal injury firm. So your State Department of Transportation is likely putting out reports quarterly. So there's new content for you, and you can take that content, and let's say it's accident data. You can do something about how many more motorcycle accidents there were, how many fewer truck accidents. Like the data is parsed in such a way that you can. I always use the layers of the onion analogy, right? So like you can create St. Louis motorcycle accident lawyer. You create that page. But then let's talk about every sub issue within that, and then bring up statistics about motorcycle accidents and statistics about brain injuries related to motorcycle accidents. There's a lot more to talk about than initially one might think.
Sure. That makes sense. Sure.
So before I get to my Jack Black cello question, talk to me as if I'm an attorney running a firm that wants to use your services. I'm a little hesitant, and then we've already kind of talked about your roadmap and what you would do, but how could you show me the value 6 months from now? Give me some outcomes and what the ROI is.
I mean, I need to get my sales guy on the call for this part, because I'm not in practice for this part right now, but I'll try my best.
So as I tell my children, we're all in sales.
We're all in sales all the time. No, you're absolutely right. No, so the answer is this. You need to give us at least 6 months to show you results, and we're going to be posting content. We're going to track the performance of that content, and ultimately, is the phone ringing, and have you gotten cases, right? And like, especially in the injury space, is there an ROI? And the question is going to be yes, based on how we're pricing our services and based on the average value of a injury case. If you get one case a year, you're making a significant ROI.
Right.
On these
So I love your background, that it's not traditional. You know, most lawyers are history majors. I'm sure, well, your path was just different, and your parents took a leap of faith and said, go to Iowa and study music. And I also know someone who ran a very large law firm, and her background was in theater.
Okay.
And it was that different perspective and different training, that she wasn't like every other MBA that was running a business. She had a different perspective. So given that, here's my off the wall question for you. What classic rock song would sound best on the cello?
So that's a good one. It's a good one. I've played with a few bands over the years.
Okay.
I love Led Zeppelin. It's my favorite band for 30 years now. Now, you can't listen to a band that doesn't exist all the time, but like they were my first favorite band, and they still remain my favorite band. Going to California, not going to California. What's the California song? I can't remember off the top of my head. You guys know what I'm talking about? I'm
Oh, the
embarrassed.
Eagles?
No.
No, Led Zeppelin.
Led Zeppelin? Don't know.
If my brother-in-law was here, he could tell you all the lyrics too.
I mean, I'm embarrassed by this right now. Just one moment. Going to California. That's the name of the tune.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
I love it. Played it with a few bands. Actually, used to play it with a band. You guys remember Lou Ellens in Central West Bend? We used to do that song there all the time.
Oh, wow. That's awesome.
Yeah, when I was in law school, actually.
Well, David, thank you. David Arato is the founder and CEO of Lexicon Legal Content. You can learn more about his work and his team at www.lexiconlegalcontent.com. David, how else can they get a hold of you?
I'm all over the socials, so LinkedIn, Twitter, X rather, Facebook. And you can email me directly, david@lexiconlegalcontent.com.
All right, we'll put all that in the show notes. And if you're a law firm owner who wants to think differently about your business and your numbers, visit Anders Virtual CFO Services to learn more about how we help law firms turn financial insights into strategic growth, and reach out to David to see if he can help your firm as well. Thank you.
Thanks, guys. This was fun.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us on Judicial Dollars and Cents, presented by Anders Virtual CFO Services. If you found value in today's conversation, be sure to follow or subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. To learn more about how Anders helps law firms strengthen their financial foundations and drive growth, visit anderscpa.com. Until next time, keep making smart decisions that make perfect sense.